geopolitical state that exists right now is an apartheid state and an occupation.
1000%, because we have history to look at.
Yeah.
It's not like there aren't examples throughout history, and all too often the examples are just way too glaringly similar.
And it's when pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered, and that's where we are in empire right now.
Teresa says, Trail of Tears parallel to Palestine is undeniable.
Absolutely.
Whenever the military expansion grows too large and too fat, then you have what you're having now.
Well, we have a society that spends infinitely more on hurting other people than helping its own people. So it doesn't work.
And a very good example of that is when people talk about modern monetary theory and is it even possible because we print our own currency? Well, here's what you need to understand. That's not to say that you can just print endless amounts of money. The problem we have in our country is that we print money and it goes into very few people's hands, which is done on purpose.
Right. No, the only problem is real resources. We've had this. I would suggest anybody go back and look at any of our shows on MMT. We've covered this quite a bit. But yeah, this is to me at a point where I am okay saying, yeah, the state of Israel does not need to exist in its current form.
If it does, it's only going to create even more violence and more endless war.
It needs to just be a real democracy from the river to the sea.
So I would ask,
Palestine shall be free. And that includes the Jews there.
And so if anybody is asking, and if you're like looking at what's going on right now, do you really think at this current state, do you know how much worse this is going to get if Turkey or Lebanon gets involved? Do you know how much worse this will be?
See, I don't think you will see Israel get annihilated. You will see Israel, and then the nuclear weapons.
And then we have to get involved.
Because what will happen is Israel will shoot a nuclear weapon off to Iran, and then it'll be game over.
And then Russia gets involved, and then it's World War III. Is that what you want? Because it's very easy to say you're okay with that if you're not the one fighting the war.
Yeah, and the thing is that there was a world that existed before Israel. There's people alive that are older than the state of Israel. And it's okay to conceive of a world after. Countries come and go. What's more important is to properly serve the rights of everybody that's alive right now in that location. And the only way to do that is with a single unified state. And that does mean that Jews don't have a nation state. They don't get to have an ethno state. And quite honestly, nobody should. Because as I've said before, in order to have an ethno state, you need to conduct an ethno cleanse. And that's just how it is. And right now, and as somebody who was used as a tool in Israel's ethnic cleansing, I can tell you that that has been their campaign. They have every intention of taking that whole thing. So when I say get rid of the state of Israel, I don't mean the people or anything like that. I mean the government, where it then goes from being an ethno state to being an actual democratic republic. That's all I'm talking. When I say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free for everyone, including all the Jews there. They get to be free too. It's like nobody's suggesting to genocide them. Nobody's suggesting that. You're projecting your genocidal tendencies onto other people.
The other scary thing is that if you look on social media, and let me tell you something, guys, the overwhelming majority of Israelis that comment on social media, they are psychotic.
Well,
in
it's
their
out of
approach.
Control. And they're genocidal.
And this comes down to free the hostages and we'll stop committing the genocide. It's as if to say, okay, we know what we're doing and we're going to keep doing it because you need to let our hostages go, even though they want to ignore the fact that Israel has killed several of the hostages.
Oh, like 60 of them were probably killed in the original from all of the shit.
No one actually knows how many hostages are still being kept.
No.
And no one wants to look at the grand scheme of things. But what that also proves beyond any doubt is that you value an Israeli life more than everybody else's life.
We know that. They absolutely do. There's not even a doubt in my mind.
And so how do you think that's going, how do you think other people are going to react? I've always maintained that one of the biggest reasons that the Jewish people have had to deal with endless levels of anti-Semitism for many, many years is because they have projected themselves onto the world as the chosen people.
I know you don't
want to hear that.
That's not true.
I'm sharing my thought.
Okay, because I know more Catholics that think that than Jews.
Okay. So, be it as it may, if you say that you are the chosen people of Catholics, yes, I grew up.
We don't say that. The Bible said it. And so it gets proselytized
But
that way.
Zionists believe that they are the chosen people.
It's not that. That's not what Zionism is.
I understand. I am simply stating what Zionists project. They do project that they are the chosen people. How do you think people of other cultures are going to react to that?
Well, it's more, and I don't think it's that. I think it's that they just feel entitled to have their own state. And the reason, if people would go back and learn a little bit about Zionism, the reason that Jews actually sought their own state, yes, it was to escape persecution in Europe and Russia, and absolutely it was that. But it was that Jews were considered, to not ever have loyalty to any one nation. They were always considered suspect and sneaky, and they're loyal to themselves, and they have dual loyalty. And the way that in Europe, that the white Ashkenazi Jews sought to have any sort of say or get any sort of respect was to be their own nation. So that was when they started looking for places to create their Jewish state. And they looked in different places, because I know that there was part in Argentina that was considered at some point. Like, there have been places that were considered. It wasn't automatically going to be in what is Palestine. It wasn't necessarily going to be there. So this is not about them being chosen as much as them wanting to assert themselves and be taken seriously as a people. And that's where it started, because they weren't. So now what you have is you have a bunch of people that are Israelis. And quite honestly, and I say this literally, there is no more entitled group of people than Israelis. They're literally born in a new country that is still persecuting the natives on its own land and feeling completely entitled to do so as a nature, like their birthright to do so, right?
No one is getting over this.
And it's like, it's just so disgusting.
In a head-to-head matchup, Donald Trump right now leads Joe Biden by 10 points in Michigan.
It's over.
The election's over. You're not coming back from that, because there's nothing you're going to do. You see, that's not to say that there aren't things that Joe Biden could do to change his fortunes. He's just not going to do that.
At this point, actually, it could be too late. For me, you screwed the workers, you screwed the environment, you screwed the Appalachian people. You screwed over Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you, they really did.
I mean, like,
I'm going to tell you, they really did an amazing job of completely taking healthcare out of the conversation. Like, they really did. Hamas, Mark J., thank you so much.
That's
for $5.
what one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Resistors rising out of the world's largest open-air prison are terrorists. Americans resisting British occupation were called patriots. They were also called treasonous.
Yes, they were criminals.
Correct.
And the thing is that I would say that, and absolutely what Hamas did is terroristic. That's an act of terrorism.
So this is what the Democratic establishment is going to throw at people in 2024, which is Project 2025. Here's what I can tell you, Taylor. The biggest impediment with the Democratic Party has always been the fact that they are controlled almost wholly by Wall Street and Silicon Valley. The GOP is controlled by the evangelical right. Project 2025 is basically theocracy. That's the whole point, and that's what they want. So at this point, you're getting what you're getting almost no matter who's in there. So you're basically screwed either way.
Metal, I'm not saying Trump is a shoo-in, because there's a long road between here and there, and he and Joe are both very old. And a lot of shit happens.
Do not discount RFK.
Do not discount what we do pretty much agree on is that Biden's done. That's what we're saying. I'm not saying that Trump is necessarily a shoo-in, but as of right now, if the election were right now, that's what it's looking like based on the numbers.
And let's keep another thing in mind, which I think is also important that you cannot neglect here, because a lot of people tend to forget that when you're looking at the other people that are running right now, Dr. Cornel West, Jill Stein, Dr. Jill Stein, and of course you have potentially—
She's actually an MD.
She is. You have First Lady.
The real Dr. Jill.
Sorry, First Lady. And then, of course, whoever's going to be running on the Libertarian ticket, and that's going to be one as well. You see, what may ultimately end up happening, again, the Forward Party, in my opinion, when it all is said and done, I believe that Andrew Yang's Forward Party will endorse RFK for president. I also think that
that'll be a big deal.
If you also look at what's happening with the Green Party right now, that not a lot of people are talking about, is that the Green Party has a very big problem with ballot access. They're only in 18 states right now. Do you really think they're going to double that at a minimum? Remember, in 2016, the Green Party was on the ballot in 48 states.
No, I don't know. They seem pretty confident that they can get on all the ballots.
Well, they seem confident doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
That's true. But the Green Party has, look, they have a track record of doing it.
If
So that speaks to that they can do it.
If Dr. West is not able to get on the ballot, what's he going to do? And then the question becomes, where are the voters going to go? In my opinion, again, I could be wrong.
They ain't going to Joe.
They're not going to Joe, and they're most likely not going to Trump. They may go to Trump before they go to Joe, but I'm telling you right now, if RFK's on that ballot,
They're going to
you
him.
can say whatever you want right now about RFK. If it's between him, Joe, and Trump, they're going to RFK. It's going to happen because he's got money, he's got name, and he has a lot of ideas that I happen to agree with. I have ideas that I don't agree with.
Yeah,
but when he talks about the issue of the economy, specifically as it pertains to people's ability to actually build wealth in this country because of the broken capitalist system, where mega giants that are private equity firms, all these major conglomerates are able to buy up every piece of real estate so that basically we have a service class across the board. He is the only person across any political spectrum that is talking about this right now. And that will play. It won't play right now, but you wind the clock 10 months from now, that is going to be a big deal.
I think that RFK is definitely a contender in that. Because
so when they're all
I will tell you, if I was looking at the three of them, and that was it. And Dr. West wasn't on the ballot. And because, I am a Dr. West supporter. But if I'm looking at Joe and Trump and RFK, I'm voting for Bobby.
And I think most people are going to feel that way once they get to that point. Now,
and there are many things about him I don't like.
But at some point, you have to say that RFK is the 2016 Trump. There is this, the system is going, people are demanding change. They are. You can hold it off for as long as you think you can. But even the richest, most powerful people in history, we've had times like this before. And eventually, if the Roman Empire can fall, if Genghis Khan can fall, if Napoleon Bonaparte can fall, anybody can fall. And they will.
Oh, and the hubris in this country is so off the charts.
They really believe. There are people who believe it's not going to happen to us.
No, it can't happen.
Like, we'll figure it out.
And more importantly, the amount of people, and I've even seen like Debbie saying shit like this, that if you reelect Trump, it'll end the democracy. Our democracy ended a long time ago when people like you started suckling off the corporate teat. That was the end of the democracy.
When Schultz was able to get away with what she got away with in 2016, and there was no consequences for it whatsoever, nothing.
And she says he's going to cause the end of democracy.
If you are questioning why people have lost faith in the system, it's pretty easy to see why.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.